All right, guys, it's Boone down south. Tonight was my third hunt with this HECS outfit. I think I might have had a HECS moment. So stay tuned and I'll show you what it's all about. Okay guys, so what you got to understand is this is just my third hunt with this HECS suit. I'm trying this out. Like I said in my other video, by the way, I'll put a link to the first video here. I had 2 encounters with some turkeys where I did a lot of movement, and the turkeys just looked at me and kept right on going. Like it was no big deal, kept feeding. I had another encounter with a buck. At this point on my third hunt, I probably had, at this point, 20 deer within 16 yards of me over 3 hunts with the HECS suit. And so I'm not saying it's magic. I'm not saying any of that kind of stuff. I'm still in the testing phase. I'm going to leave final judgment until I've spent several weeks with this thing. I'm fortunate enough that I get to do a lot of hunting here on my property. It's just a small tract of land, but I do get to hunt it. I can take my time with the deer. I see a lot of deer, and I'm around a lot of deer. So I know that we've all had those, people, the deer come in to us and come in close, and turkeys come in close, and all that kind of stuff. We've all had an experience with a bird landing on us if you've hunted for any amount of time. Okay, but the stories I hear about the people that use HECS, these are more like normal occurrences, right? So what I'm showing you right now is my third hunt with this. I had a buck come in. I would have expected a certain reaction, and I thought that's what was happening, but I was wrong. And so I'm going to show you that real quick. I'll put the link up. You can check out the first video I put on this, but I'm going to be throwing some videos out as I feel like what could be potential, what I'm going to call HECS encounters, where I'm seeing some activity that, yes, you can see this activity without a HECS suit, but the frequency, some of the things I'm seeing just make me think that there might be something to this, okay? Let me show you what's going on here. So I was in my stand about 5 o'clock. About 5:45, these 3 does came in from the left, came across, well, actually 2 from the left and 1 from up top. They came in, they're a little skittish, as you can see, approaching the feeder, and that's because we had a lot of high winds going on. You can't really tell from the video and from the audio, had a lot of high winds going on, but after a while they settled down, and they basically hung out there in that area for about 15 minutes or so, and then they finally basically kind of went back the way they came. About an hour later, I had this buck come in from the right, and there's a bottom that's down there, so that's why you really can't tell much from the wind. I'm looking down this bottom, but this buck comes in, and he's also a little skittish, just like the does were. That night, I ended up seeing like 10 different deer come into this feeder setup, and right where that buck is at, I'm about 16 yards away. I'm up a tree, I am in camouflage. In general, the wind is in my favor, but it is squirrely as well, so I don't know if it's carrying, circling any of my scent down there. But this buck came in being a little skittish, and he just kind of, looks around, doesn't ever really look at me, which is not anything that's not normal, by the way, okay? I am well camouflaged and all that stuff, like I said, but he finally works his way up to the feeder, and he starts feeding, and he fed for about 10 minutes or so, and then this guy, once he calmed down, he finally left. But you can kind of see how he's skittish. He's like really leaning into that feeder there, and just a couple bites and looking back. But he will end up just calming down and feel real comfortable, and he just starts walking right up to it, and he's pretty much settled in for the next 5 minutes like that, right? So he finally leaves, and then a little bit later, another 15 minutes go by, and then I have another buck come in. This is the buck that I felt like things were a little more unusual. Again, he's skittish as well. You can see a scar on his back there, like he might have been popped by a broadhead or something already, or hit something. You can see that little scar there. But he comes in, and again, 16 yards. He's looking around. There's a lot of high winds. Again, you can't see it down low. But in a minute, he's going to see me. I moved or something. I'm not sure if a mosquito was getting me or what. But in just a minute, you're going to see him. He's going to spot me flat out, okay? And I think that's going to happen here real soon, if memory serves me right. Let's watch this and see. Yeah, you can see how he's skittish there. And then boom, he saw me move, and now he's looking right at me. He has me pegged. He has me pegged. At this point, a buck is going to check out the situation typically, which is what he's doing, or they're going to start doing that head bobbing thing. Actually, they're going to check it out, and then they're going to get out of town. That's typically what a buck does once you've been seen like that. He saw me head on, and I'm thinking he's getting out of town, and he comes around, and now he's just going to stare my way, and he probably stared at me in that position right there for probably a solid minute. He's just staring at me. I'm trying my best not to move, but I'm still trying to breathe, you know, without my head moving too much and making much noise, and just trying to, you know, stay calm. And he just stares at me. And typically, you know, when a buck sees something he doesn't like, he's getting out of there. The other, you know, if it was a doe, she'd be stomping her foot. She'd be stomping her foot, doing the head bobs, you know. And sometimes bucks will do the head bob too. You know, they'll bob the head down and bring it right back up. They try to tempt him to moving. But I'm figuring, okay, you know, he's busted me. This guy is as good as gone. I'm surprised he hasn't gone already, to be honest with you, because usually they don't hang around like this. But he's looking at me. There's no head bobs going on, and you can't see it from this camera. The tail was not up. He wasn't doing the, you know, getting the tail to half cock position or kicking it up or anything like that, because, you know, they're out of town when that happens, right? So he's just sitting here looking at me and looking up towards me. Now he's not even looking at me. He's looking to my right. Like he's kind of already like, man, I don't see anything there. Let me look to my right. And at that point, I noticed there was a raccoon coming down a log over to my right. So he might have been looking at that raccoon. I don't know. I was afraid to move too much. But at this point, you know, he's like, hey, I'm going to turn around. And, you know, he's not looking back at me anymore, if you notice. And he's out of there. That's what I'm thinking. He's out of there, right? He's done. But look, I could have still had a shot at him. Look at that. When he turned around, he never went back and looked at me again, right? And he just, no tail up, there he goes, right? So I think it's done. So at this point, I turned the camera off because I'm figuring he's gone. Only I was wrong. He literally turned around, comes back around, and look at this. He's not even looking at me anymore. And I'm not going to play the whole footage because he was here for another 10 minutes, and he never paid me attention again. Okay, he looked my way once or twice, but never paid me any attention again after that stare down. And, you know, yes, could this happen, you know, without a HECS suit? It's possible, but it's not very common that this would happen, right? For him to give me that stare down and then feel comfortable enough to go back to feeding in the same spot. And he was here for another 10 minutes. So, you know, I don't know, guys, but I think this was a HECS encounter. So use your own judgment. Use what you think. But this is my third time out with a suit. The third time I've had an occurrence that I feel like was a HECS moment where the HECS was doing something for me. So it's just interesting to me. And as I continue to test out this suit, I'm going to continue to post some of these videos that I feel I have these, what I call these HECS moments. But I do think there's something to this at this point in time. The fact that he stared me down, he didn't get out of Dodge. Like, it's what happens 98% of the time, right? And there he's kind of looking up towards me. He's not all the way up, but he's just bobbing his head around, not really paying me any attention at all. And yeah, and he finished eating, and then he just kind of sauntered off like everything was cool. So that's what I wanted to show you guys. I thought it was very interesting, and just wanted to share. So if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.